Welcome to the Profit by Design podcast. I am Melissa Kay, the lead strategist at Tap the Potential, and joining me is Dr. Sabrina Starling, the founder of Tap the Potential, the business psychologist, and TEDx speaker. And speaking of TEDx, Dr. Sabrina, you just delivered your TED Talk last week. Tell us about it.
I did. It was such an incredible experience to get to see audience reactions as I was sharing my story about work supports life and how being emotionally present is the greatest gift we can give another human being. And just watching people's faces and seeing how it was impacting them. And then afterwards, we had tables as speakers and the audience could come up and interact with us. And I had such great conversations. A young lady approached me. Her family owns a business. She is 18. And she said, I see this happening in 3 generations of my family, how entrepreneurship is impacting us. What can I do as an 18-year-old coming into this business as an owner to set this up so that work supports our life and not the other way around? That to me makes everything worth it, because now we're impacting the next generation of entrepreneurs, and the majority of businesses small businesses are family based. So when we can have that impact at that level with younger entrepreneurs, I'm really excited about that, Melissa. And you were there at TEDx. What was your experience like?
Oh, it was incredible. You totally knocked it out of the park. And it was really funny because your daughters were there and Caitlin on our team was there, and we're all ready to take pictures. And as soon as you started speaking, we just put our phones down, and all of the aspirations to get all these pictures just went away. We got a few for you, but your message was so transformative, even though we've heard a lot of it. We live this, but it was so transformative that we just had to stop and be fully present in that moment, because we didn't want to regret not experiencing it in person. And I all of the speakers were so phenomenal, but I tell you, the thing that really meant so much to me was that your daughters were there.
Yes. That was such a full circle moment, Melissa, because when I started Tap the Potential, I did it because I wanted to be present with my family, and Kylie was a baby. I had started Tap the Potential before she was born, but I was pregnant with her while I was starting the business. And everything that I've done around the 25-hour work week and work supports life, I initially did for myself. And I was a solopreneur, and I was just doing this in my own business. And then the business took off and started growing. And being someone who walks my talk, I thought, well, if it's good for the goose, it has to be good for the gander. So it has to work for everyone on our team. And that was just a parameter that I put in place. And it has evolved. And now we have a team, and our immutable law is work supports life. And we all try to accomplish what our $10,000 an hour activities are in our 25-hour work weeks. And so that leads right into today's topic, Melissa.
It does. And we're going to talk today about how to delegate without micromanaging. And we started to dig into this topic on our last episode, and then we ran out of time. So before we do that, though, I just want to bring this home. So I have to thank you, Dr. Sabrina, because I totally raised my daughter in hustle culture. She worked inside me in a business, and 2 businesses actually, and then worked with me to start a nonprofit organization. And it was so hustle culture, and it was toxic, and I was sick all of the time. And I just thank you that not only have you transformed my mindset and my life through Work Supports Life, but Caitlin's on our team now. So we get to live that, and we work a schedule such that we can actually spend quality time together every week. So thank you for that. And I just appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you, Melissa. It just touches my heart. It makes me so happy that the scope of work supports life and how we are disrupting hustle culture and the impact that it has on you, on Caitlin, and other business owners and their family members.
Yeah, and really, this all ties into what we're talking about today. So, I just got off of a coaching call with some of our clients, and we're doing the Mission, Vision, Purpose course. And as we were really exploring what the vision is for our business, and how, when you write your vision, you want to keep in mind of all of those dreams that you had when you started your business. So you're really thinking about, well, going with your gut, identifying why you started this business and what you want to achieve without the limited constraint of resources. We're not thinking about the how, we're thinking about the why.
Yes.
And things came up like perimenopause. I know there's a lot of women listening now, and children and after school activities. And when I started my business, I did it to be there for my children. And now I find myself that I can't be, and I'm not the mom who I really want to be. So when we're talking about delegation, this is the key to getting to that 25-hour work week.
Absolutely, it is. There's no way to work a 25-hour work week without delegating effectively. And in my TEDx talk, I talked about having that set time to stop work each day, and then unplugging, fully unplugging. And I shared a story about what happened when I did that on a particular day. That really impacted me and brought home why that's so important. So when we are setting these limits in our business and we are insisting that our business support our life, there are lots of things that we're doing every day that are not our $10,000 an hour activities. So our $10,000 an hour activities happen when we are working from our strengths, adding value by making other things easier or unnecessary for ourselves or others. So an example of a $10,000 an hour activity in your business is identifying the sweet spot of the business and doing the wish list interviews and then analyzing those wish list interviews. And these are all things we do with our clients in the Better Business, Better Life program. But responding to email, scheduling, putting together a marketing campaign, managing what's on the website. These are all the things that business owners get bogged down in. And these are not necessarily our highest value contributions to the business. And so the delegation happens from the business owner to other team members. And it also, the next level beyond that is when other team members start delegating and getting things off their plate that are not the $10,000 an hour activities. The hard part is doing this without micromanaging. And that is the piece where it sounds like it's an art, but there really is a science to how to do this. And that's what we're going to dig into today, because micromanaging, I've been micromanaged. I'm sure you have too in other jobs. I might have micromanaged you at some point, Melissa. It might have come from me. It's demoralizing as a team member. Like, it feels like, do you think I'm an idiot? Like, I can't figure this out. Or someone telling you to do it away, and yet you can see that it could be done so much easier. And so then you're trying to, if you're an A player, you want to innovate and you want to contribute ideas and you want to create that ease, but then you have somebody who's not directly involved in the task anymore telling you, well, it needs to be done this certain way, and you need to be at your desk at this time doing it, which that's another piece of the micromanagement and delegation that we're going to get into. That's demoralizing for team members. And we will lose our A players when we do that.
For sure. And we get caught in the trap of thinking as business owners that no one can do it as good as we can. And the fact is, a lot of times these activities, your team members can do it more effective than you can, with a much better outcome and faster, with a higher delivery of services. So you want your team members involved, and to get your team members to the point that they are identifying, as they're moving up in leadership roles, they're identifying things that could be delegated out. So this is one thing that I practice. I want to delegate as much off of my plate as I can to free me up to do even more things to grow in my role.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of trust. So, Dr. Sabrina, you're the business owner. I'm on the leadership team. And even in my role, it takes a great amount of strength for me to trust the team member that I am delegating things out to. So,
Mhm.
um, let's talk about how trust plays a role in effective delegation and really how to cultivate that amongst your team members.
Absolutely. So if the foundation of trust is you have to be able to assume that others on your team are whole, competent, capable, and complete human beings, right? So that means you have hired A players, and that's the foundation is knowing how to hire the best. And by the way, if that is a struggle for you, I've written a whole series of books on how to hire the best, and we have a workshop on how to hire the best. Go to howtohirethebest.com or tap the potential / course, and that will take you straight to the How to Hire the Best workshop. So when you've hired A players, you have hired people who are intrinsically motivated, whose immutable laws align with yours. And that is a key piece to you being able to trust them because there's no way that we will ever get every system documented in our business for every circumstance that's going to come up. There will be things that come up that we have never encountered before, and we, the business owner, because we've delegated, aren't going to be available to fix that particular problem. And we shouldn't be fixing all the problems in the business anyway. But when we have hired team members whose core values align with the immutable laws of the business, we can trust, underline that word, trust, that they may handle it differently than we will or we would have in that situation, and we will feel good about how they handled it.
Yes.
When team members don't align with our immutable laws and they handle things, that's where we get the cringe factor. So that's where the business owner goes, off grid for a day. They're unplugged. And they come back and, oh my gosh, this random circumstance happened on that day. They were out and the team member handled it. And you're hearing what they did and you're thinking, oh, did they really just do that? That's, oh gosh, and it makes your stomach kind of knot up. That's a sign that you have a team member whose immutable laws don't align with yours. And so when you have the immutable laws in alignment, whatever they choose, even though it may be an out of the box idea, one that you hadn't thought of before, but you're going to feel good about how they conducted themselves. Like they took it at Tap the Potential, it would be, where they can, as the team decided how to handle this, did they consider clients' needs and what's best for the client? Did they consider business and our sustainability as a profitable business? Was that a consideration? And was there an attention to creating a win for all parties involved? And following our immutable laws, if all that's done, like, yes, that's
Mhm.
a great scenario. And so being able to do this in a trusting way, we have to have hired A players whose core values align with our immutable laws, but we also need to give decision-making parameters.
Mhm.
So you were bringing up the mission, vision, purpose course that you teach for our Better Business, Better Life clients. You were just teaching that before you came over on the podcast. A clear vision, mission, and purpose becomes part of the decision-making parameters for the team members. Without a clear vision, they have no way to judge, is their choice in this situation moving you further along towards the vision, or is it taking you off track? And I want to throw out an example of this. A few years back, one of our clients who took the 4-week vacation pledge was out of the office for an extended period of time and left leadership team members in charge. When he came back, one of the first things he was informed of is a team member had been fired in
Mhm.
his absence. And as he dug into it, number one, he was quick to tell me, Dr. Sabrina, I'm actually relieved they fired him because I was dreading coming back because I knew I was going to have to do it. But they had taken the initiative to fire this team member because the team member was violating immutable laws. And the team also recognized how that was holding the team back and slowing them down in achieving their vision. And so they took action. So those became part of their decision-making parameters.
That's incredible. And, when we think about trusting our team members, we're not saying give them the task and never ever check back in. So we're going to give you some guidelines. One thing that I believe you do so well is you give us gentle reminders. So we have complete autonomy on our leadership team, and you trust we're all working a 25-hour work week. So in our project management tool, we may have 100 tasks that we need to get to, but you give us the autonomy to determine what is the highest priority. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when things happen, like we just had in-person VIP day coaching for a week, so some of the things that I'm able to accomplish are not going to get done. Things that I would typically do aren't going to get done because there's a week less this month, right? And when things are falling off that would typically be done by an A player, and you trust that they're prioritizing correctly, and you're delegating them things to be done, if you catch something that hasn't been completed, don't just assume there's something going on with this A player all of a sudden. Just a gentle nudge and a reminder is all they need.
Yes. This is so critical. We're wired to notice what's wrong, like the things that are missing and the things that are out of whack. That's what we're wired to notice as human beings, but that's what we business owners really pay attention to because we're natural problem solvers, entrepreneurs are. And so when we look at and say, oh, Melissa's not doing something, and then get mad, like Melissa's just slacking off because she's not. And that if you operate on that assumption, you deal with this problem in a completely different way, in a way that will alienate team members. So when we assume that we have hired A players and they are whole, competent, capable, and complete, we are also assuming they're doing their job. And what we want to delegate are results, not tasks. Mm-hmm. So Melissa is overseeing her chief result at Tap the Potential is service delivery, making sure our clients experience our brand promise, which is more time for what matters most, more money in their bank account than ever. And Melissa has KPIs that she tracks around that. And so when Melissa is getting pulled into preparing for VIP days, traveling to VIP days, being at VIP days, doing the follow-up after VIP days, she's prioritizing service delivery. But there are day-to-day tasks that Melissa would normally do that are not happening because you can't do all of that at a 25-hour work week, right? And so something has to drop off. So when Melissa knows what her KPIs are that she's responsible for, she can make the judgment call around, okay, this thing that I normally do every week, I'm not doing it this week because really if we're 80% consistent, we're good enough. But this thing over here around the VIP days, that's going to have a huge impact on our delivery on our brand promise to our clients. So I'm putting my energy over here. So I trust her to make that judgment call. And we didn't start out that way either, Melissa. Like I didn't just say, okay, Melissa, you're a lead strategist. You're responsible for this. See ya. Good luck. Have fun. I hope it turns out well for you. Like, that's not how we delegate. We built up to this level of delegation. So maybe Melissa, talk about that messy middle part of the delegation process.
Sure. So it starts at the very beginning when you're onboarding your team members. So when you're onboarding your team members, it's very important to share about your business, your mission, your vision, your immutable laws. And in the onboarding process, it's really setting them up for success, making sure you spend time with them, making sure they're trained properly. And once all of that is completed, there has to be a couple of things. One is a really good project management tool, and two, clear communication. And by that, we're referring to one-on-one meetings with your team members. So the first is the systems. So you have to have clearly defined, laid out systems that are very effective for your team members to understand what their tasks are and how to complete them. And in project management tools, it's important that each person is able to track what they're supposed to be doing, what they're responsible for, with firm deadlines, and who to go to for support.
Absolutely. And the project management tool is key to accomplishing this effectively. It creates that transparency where I or someone else on the team could go in and look and see what's being done. And I think when you see a team member who is dropping the ball somewhere, being able to go in and look within the project management tool and software first, and then you're going to have gaps. You're going to have things that you're curious about. And that's really how to approach this conversation is I'm curious about this, or I noticed this and I was expecting this, which is different. Tell me what's going on here. So you're sharing what you observed, you're laying out what the expectation is, and then you're asking for the input from the team member. And so that project management tool allows you to have explored that before you have the conversation. So you can have facts versus accusations or assumptions.
Sure. Your project management tool really is your lifeline for your business. And without it, your team members are just guessing. There's no guidance for them in the day-to-day function of their role. So a lot of times when you're experiencing challenges with team members, when they're A players, it's not about the team member, it's about the system. There's a missing link somewhere in the system, or the system is not yet created.
Or it's an out of date system.
Mhm.
And there's things that have changed in another part of the business that have impacted that system, and that needs to be addressed. I also am aware one of the things that we didn't touch on, but that really sets team members up for success when you delegate, is that you're crystal clear on the results you need from that team member. And this is what we teach in How to Hire the Best, because it really starts with from the moment you create the job ad. So you want to identify what the person in that role, what result are they responsible for? And you want to connect it to the sweet spot of the business and be able to state how that result impacts profitability. That's the two tests of a key result. And you want to explain to the team member as you're hiring them the result that they're responsible for. And then you create a plan. So you think about, okay, if I have an A player in this role and they've been in the business for 12 months, what are they going to be able to accomplish with respect to this result? And then you backtrack and you say, okay, if they're doing that at 12 months, what are they doing at 9 months in, 6 months in, 3 months, 30 days, week one, and day one? And so then you're really getting down to, okay, here's what I'm expecting to see from an A player at the end of day one, at the end of week one, and so on. And so now you can create a training plan that gets them to that result. And all of this is conveyed during the hiring process and tracked in the onboarding process in, guess what? Keyword, project management software.
Yes. So, one thing that we have in our Better Business, Better Life program that I love is an onboarding template. We have a spreadsheet that really helps our clients start from day one to 30, 60, 90 days, and then beyond with our A player development. plan, and then our user manuals. And we're not going to get into that today, but if anyone's listening thinking, oh my gosh, this seems so overwhelming, do it for me. Tell me how to do it more effectively. Give us a shout out. Send me an email to melissa@tapthepotential.com, and I would be happy to give you more information about our coaching program, because we really do have it dialed in and tested. So the second thing after you have that project management tool is clear communication. So let's just talk about the value of having team meetings and one-on-one meetings.
Yes. Oh, this is so important. So I think a lot of business owners have a little bit of PTSD around team meetings. We heard some of that today because team meetings often can turn into gripe sessions. And if that feels demoralizing for the business owner too, because gosh, you're doing your best, right? In the business, if it's growing through growing pains, and there's a lot of messy things going on in the business, and it's not your fault as the business owner. And so business owners tend to start avoiding team meetings, minimizing them because they feel like they're not effective. And the other thing that we get a lot of resistance around is having one-to-one meetings because it feels like, well, Dr. Serena, we see each other all day, every day. Why do we need to have a one-to-one? That seems like just extra time. So the meetings create an opportunity for clear communication to happen. And the most valuable meetings you can have in your business are your one-to-one meetings, and doing them consistently every week to every other week, 20 to 30 minutes per person. You as a leader should not have more than 5 people that you are doing one-to-ones with, because then that's overwhelming. But what happens in those one-to-ones is you are building, again, keyword trust with your team members because you are taking time to listen. Your phone is off. It's best if it's not even on the desk or not visible. There's actual research that shows when our phones are visible, it changes how we communicate. Our communication stays more shallow. So you want to give your team member full focus during this time, because being emotionally present is the greatest gift we can give another human being. And you want to go into this meeting with a clear agenda and a structured agenda that you follow, which, by the way, Melissa, we provide that to our clients in our Better Business, Better Life program. So it's like it's a handout. You're ready to go. A lot of our clients put it in their project management tool and have their team members fill out the agenda prior to the one-to-ones, so that there's a clear structure that's followed. And this allows team members to know you're able to check in from week to week how they're doing on delivering their key result. They're able to bring forward issues that they're having, what's interfering with their ability to be effective. They're able to bring up when they're getting overwhelmed, or there's too much on their plate, or they're getting lost. And you'll catch if they're getting lost. And when you have A players on your team, it's easy to just delegate, because they all say, yes, I'll do that. And yes, I'll do that. And before you know it, they've forgotten what their key result is that they're responsible for delivering. And so the one-to-ones are that way to just kind of realign and say, okay, I hear you. You have 5 things that you're prioritizing and you don't know which is the most important. And now you're getting spread really thin. So you bring things back into alignment in those one-to-ones. It is the trust that gets built in those one-to-ones that will create the opportunity for your A players to talk to you about real issues that impact them in their personal lives and in the business. And this is so, so important because you will have A players who will bring up things that, if they had been silent about, would have lowered their morale over time and probably would have led to them leaving the company over time. And so that's where the value of the one-to-ones come in. And the team meetings happening, they don't necessarily need to happen every week. We have different guidelines for that based on what's going on in the business and the stage of growth and how those meetings look and who's in them. But the team meetings allow for consistent communication across the team. And they also allow for team building to happen. And I think one of the best things that can happen after a good team meeting is that you see team members leaving the room together and talking to each other. Or if you have a virtual business, you see them and hear about them communicating after the meetings and following up with each other. And it's not always work related. And that's the best, actually, if it's not work related, because they're building personal relationships. And we know from the research that people who have friends at work stay at that job much longer than people who feel like they're in their own little bubble.
Yes. Yes. This is such good advice. And one thing to keep in mind too is when you begin doing these one-to-one meetings, your team members most likely have not worked at a company that conducted one-to-one meetings. So if you think back to when you were growing up and being sent to the principal's office, it was a scary thing, right? So, Dr. Sabrina, just give us one little piece of advice for implementing one-to-one meetings.
I think you just gave it, Melissa. I immediately went to an image of my 7-year-old self huddled in a little ball sitting in the principal's office. Oh gosh, is he going to get the paddle out? Like, yeah, 'cause back then they paddled kids and the principal had a paddle on the wall. So being aware that your team members come in to these one-to-one meetings from that little kid perspective of being called into the principal's office and asking yourself, okay, what can I do to make this a safe, supported environment? Well, the best way to build trust is to ask open ended questions and put the imaginary duct tape over your mouth and listen to the answers. It's amazing. If you just think about dating advice, like, right? We all know that when we were dating, we were told, don't be interesting, be interested.
Mhm.
So business owners, we tend to just blah, 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 and this is what I want you to do, and blah, 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 and just, we think we're interesting. We're not. Our team members want to share their experience. And when we listen, we build trust with them and we will have a deeper understanding of what's going on. And a good rule of thumb is that you want to have 7 positive communications for every critical piece of feedback that you deliver. And that's good marriage advice and it's good team building advice as well for building trust on the team. And so that's why the consistent one-to-ones really make a difference, because you're creating opportunities for communication when there's nothing bad going on or no problems. And then inevitably there's going to be problems. And so when those come up, now you've built a foundation of trust and it's a very different conversation. You've created safe and supported a safe, supported environment, and your team members are going to feel as though you are coming alongside them and you're looking out for their best interest and wanting to set them up for success versus you're being called into the principal's office because you have been bad.
Yes. And again, be fully present. Make eye contact, listen, consider what your body language is conveying, because your team members know if you're picking up your phone or looking at browsers on your computer, they're going to check out and it's not going to be an effective experience. So,
Yeah. Another piece about body language is a lot of times we are very hyped up as business owners. Melissa, at VIP Days, you taught our clients box breathing, which is a technique for settling yourself down. And so if your body language is intense, if you are tapping your leg or like moving around a lot, it conveys the message of, I don't have time for this.
yes.
And so just learning how to settle yourself to be a good listener is a great place to start with. Okay, if I'm going to start delegating without micromanaging, it starts with you and at the business owner, and looking at your ability to release the tension and trust that you've done a good job hiring A players and you've hired people who are whole, competent, capable, and complete. And anything that's getting in the way of them delivering their result, they're going to have ideas about how to fix that, and you don't have to fix it. So it's really learning how to just release, settle yourself, and be present in the moment with your team members.
Yes. This has been such a great episode, Dr. Sabrina. And if anyone really just is listening and says, I just want more support with how to find these A players, how to onboard them and train them and support them as they continue their journey with my business, go over to tapthepotential.com / which one is it, Dr. Sabrina?
Course. For the how are the best course. And the other, so tapthepotential.com / course.
Yes.
And take Melissa up on her offer. She really does mean it when she says, we're here to help you and support you. If you want the personal guidance that you're hearing us talk about with our clients who are in VIP days and our Better Business, Better Life program, send Melissa a direct email at, what's your email, Melissa?
Melissa@tapthepotential.com.
Yep. And she will get you hooked up. And as always, the easiest thing, if you can't remember any of that, is tapthepotential.com. There's a link at the top that says book a call. And then you'll get Caitlin, which she's a treat in and of herself. So you've got a world of support here at your fingertips. So just reach out to us.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today.